Hello, hello, guys. Welcome. I'm so excited to have our guest today. Welcome to Jacqueline Valdez Live. We are going to be talking about setting yourself up for success. And I'm super excited for our next guest, DeBlair Tate. Welcome.
Hey.
How
So
are
happy
you?
to be back. I'm so
I
happy to be
know.
back.
Woo,
Yes,
it's been a while.
I know. What is at least a year, right? Or
At
more?
least I think more than that. Yeah. It's been a good year and a half. And so much has been happening during this period of time.
I know it has. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last time we originally had met was with Sheen Magazine. Shout out to my second family. And then we've just become friends, and I've enjoyed having you on my show. And we have amazing and lovely conversation. And you always have wonderful things to say to people and to inspire others, which I love so much.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yeah. And so tell us about your journey. And I know you're letting us know about how to set yourself up for success, but how did you get to where you're at, and what started this whole inspiration for you?
Oh my God. So don't know where to begin because honestly, and I don't know what I said last time, but this journey was so unintentional.
Yeah.
But I had to become intentional with what I was doing. But I guess just like I'm military, and I know one thing that really just kicked things off is like when COVID hit, right? Um, it was a lot going on. The world was shut down, and I had to ask permission to go home because I was in another state and I wanted to go home to my family. So on the weekends, I would have to ask permission. And of course, in the military, it's customary for you to take orders and you to be accountable for them. But I got to a point where I felt like I didn't have my life and I didn't like how that felt anymore. So I needed to do something different, but still love what I do because I still love being in the military. But I felt trapped in that moment because I wasn't able to kind of do what I wanted to do. So I needed to decide how I could take my life back. So I started on this journey of like entrepreneurship, like really, really hard, and it landed me here.
Wow. I love that you said taking your life back. And I feel a lot of people get scared in that moment where they feel like they don't have control of their life. They feel like they're just kind of on a hamster wheel, and they're not really in charge of their own destiny and in charge of their own future. And you can do that. You can take control of it.
Yes, yes, you have to want it though, because you can say that you want to do it, but you have to put in the work to do it, and that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
You can be motivated for a minute, but it's not easy. So you get to a point where you're like, you know what, just forget it, and you go back to your old norm. And I didn't want to do that,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. How did you stay driven to not stop, to not, when you did come across some difficult times? Because a lot of times people do, like you said, just want to stop and just want to quit and think, oh my goodness, this is too much work. This is too hard. The hustle is too intense.
Yeah, I didn't want to go back to the old way. I didn't like that feeling of knowing that, I was missing birthdays, I was missing big events, I was missing out on things that I said that I valued, but I knew I had a commitment that I, swore under oath to. So I was like, how can I still respect my commitment, but at the same time be able to just kind of live my life? So understanding my why, I was like, I know I got to do it. There's nothing that's going to stop me. And yes, when things get difficult, you have to just go back to the reason why you're doing it. And when you don't like a feeling, it's almost like being in a relationship that you escaped, right? When you're inside of it, you don't realize how trapped you are. But once you're out of it, you just know you don't want to go back. So some people are traumatized by those things or whatever. And I just never wanted to be traumatized by having to go back and feel like my life didn't belong to me in that sense, which I mean, it did, but I still had to answer to somebody.
Right. Wow. And it's just really developed into something even bigger than you had even imagined.
It did. I started doing crazy things. So I really just started taking risks. And a lot of people, I don't know. I see, I admire a lot of people. I ended up getting a coach, and I admire a lot of people. I wrote some books and, things like that. But one thing just started happening. I was like, okay, I want to write a book. I want to write another one. Okay, I want to start hosting conferences. I want to do this or whatever. But it wasn't even about me. It was about me just giving people a platform because when you're in my position, I hear stories from people all the time and they feel like they're alone in their journey. And I felt like I was counseling a lot and just really getting people to understand, like, hey, the situation that you're in, you can get out of it if you wanted to. It
Yeah.
may be difficult or it may take some time, but you have to start maneuvering your life. So just going on that journey and starting to just kind of help myself by helping others,
Right.
it landed me to do like things. And I look back now and I'm like, you know what? Like, what was I even thinking? Like, the type of things that I was doing, the risks that I was taking, like these just huge steps just out of nowhere, just because I didn't want to go back to where I was. I wanted to build a different life.
Wow. I love that. You have to take a risk in order to, do something big. And I love that you conquered that fear and you just went for it. And you said a really good point. You're dropping gems about, happiness and how you started to become more happy when you started helping others.
Yes, absolutely. You know what? I can be honest and say, like, there was a point in my life where I was driven by like finance, like money. Oh, I need to get it because, of course, we need that in the world, right? And when you grow up and you don't have much, you want to say, oh, I want to see how much I can get and things like that. But I learned quickly that chasing money it didn't land me anywhere, right? Because I was getting the wrong type of people in my circle, my environment. I was attracting the wrong things. So when I started really not thinking about finances and saying, you know what, I'm doing this for the right reason. It's about this. It's like selfless reasons. Everything started falling in place. And then the money came on its own without me having to chase it, right? So that's the biggest thing about it, not losing myself in the midst of it, because when you're chasing money, you start compromising things that you typically don't, devaluing yourself in ways and, thinking about, oh, well, they're trying to pay me this amount. I typically don't, do this for a client, but, so it's like, no, that's not even my style.
Right. I love that so much. It's you've grown up.
Oh, I guess. Listen, they call me auntie now, so I was like, what age are you auntie? I'm still cousin. I'm not auntie. Okay,
That's so cute.
don't get it twisted.
What is one story that really stands out to you from a client that you've worked with that's really touched you?
So one of my clients that was definitely probably on the brink. It goes back to like when I was training or whatever, and being able to change lives and allow people that potentially, if they would have kept going down that road, the end results would have been potentially death because of how you're treating yourself. And you're not being strong enough to say no to certain things, diabetes, heart disease, heart failure, doctors saying if you continue to go down this path, this is what's going to happen. So and I probably can think of more stories, but this one was always like, what I think this was my turning point whenever I was able to help somebody. And I was like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not any of these things, but somebody trusts me with their lives. And I was able to change somebody's life so they can have a better quality of life just by giving them the expertise and just them trusting me to guide them in the right direction. So I feel like that was a really powerful story for me.
Yeah, because it's really hard for people to trust people and to know that you're going to be in the right hands and
Yeah,
to know that someone counts on you so much is such a huge thing.
absolutely. I agree.
Especially nowadays, it seems with the world and the way it's shifting, there's, negative stuff happening. So that even means even more too.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, so what exciting things have you been up to besides, or what exciting things do you have coming up?
Oh my God. So I'm like, what, less than 21 days from my conference, my event I have. This is my third annual conference, REF Live, Resilient, Authentic, and Fearless. Well, that's not the title of my book. Let me tell you the story about that. So you know my book title, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I had to rebrand my book, and that's another lesson. It's like as you grow and develop, my conference was called the same thing as my book for 2 years in a row. And even though it means something positive to me, a lot of brands didn't want to attach themselves to it because of the cursing, right? So I learned, I was like, oh, wow, I really didn't even take that into consideration. So as you're maneuvering, as you're becoming successful, brands work hard to build their reputation. So you have to understand that if you want to attach your brand to any big name brand, or if you want to work with people, you have to be mindful of not compromising the integrity of what they've worked so hard for. So that was like a big eye opener. Saying that to say, rebranded the conference. It's still RAF Live, but it's called Resilient, Authentic, and Fearless. That's what the RAF stands for instead of the other things.
Very clever.
Yes. So I rebranded that. That was pretty cool. This is my third year doing it. I'm on my third book. It's a leadership book I'm working on. I should be done with it, but between the conference and the book, it's so I'm gonna focus on the conference and then I'll get back to writing. I'm on chapter 4, so I have 6 more to go. So I feel like I'll be great. And I don't want to tell you this. I'm gonna have to come back because there is something else that's really, really big. But I just, how you're in the midst of like,
Yes. Oh,
so I want to tell you so bad, but for the next show.
we'll have to have a reunion.
Yes, even if it's for a minute. Yeah.
For sure. Oh my goodness. So you've been writing books. How did that door open up? And how would you let someone know if they're interested in writing a book, how to get started?
Listen, I'm probably the last person to ask because I never, growing up, and I don't know why, I never was somebody that liked to read. I never was somebody that even desired to write a book, right? It came later, and I guess that's with maturity because the older I get, certain foods I like and don't like anymore. So your likes and dislikes change because I love to read, I love to write. And somebody did a documentary on me or something a while back, and they was like, oh my God, you need to tell your story, this, that, and the other. So I was like, okay, that's something I potentially could do. I never thought about writing a book, but I'm so happy I did because to me, it's like my resume, it actually gives me an opportunity because I had I wouldn't say it was a different life. Like who I am today definitely wasn't who I was in, and you probably the same, like high school and things like that.
Yeah.
But it gave me an opportunity to really tell my story and show growth and not be out here telling people how they should live their lives or what I think they should be doing. And me not being 100% like vulnerable and real about where I came from. I feel like it gives me more credibility for people to see that I once was somewhere that potentially you are now or have been. And now I'm able to tell you this because I've been there.
Oh.
So that's the thing. So it's just about basically getting it out there. If it can help someone, I feel like you should get it out there. And there's so many ways to write books now. You don't have to do pen to paper anymore like I did on my first 2.
Wow.
But you can have an editor. There's so many ways that you can get your authentic story out there or whatever you want to get,
Yeah, I love that so much. I love that you're really vulnerable and that you're really showing all the sides of you and really just opening up now.
Yeah, it took a while. I
Cool.
was so closed in. I remember the last one. I was so closed in, and it took growth too. Because my conference was the first year I really started opening up about certain things because I definitely live a private life. And I feel like it derived from the military because there's so much you can and can't do. And you just don't want to cross that line and just making sure you don't, mess up your career or whatever. But it's like at this point, I just want people to know that I'm not out here just telling you things. And I've been through some things, been through a lot.
Right.
So people are surprised more and more. So it brings me closer to people. It makes people trust me more because I can kind of share in the sentiment of what they're dealing with sometimes.
Oh, and it's so true. It's like a domino effect. Once you start to open up and you start to help others and inspire others, then they start to want to open up as well. And then it's like a domino effect, just, making a difference in the world.
Yes, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Oh my goodness gracious. I love it. I'm so glad that we've reconnected. And it's
Mhm.
just been so exciting to see your journey and to see all of the amazing things that you've been up to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for following and reaching out. I see you all the time.
Yes.
That definitely means a lot for when you reached back out to me, I was like, oh my God, because your energy is always so good. And I was like, let's do it.
We always have such a good time.
Always.
Yes, yes. How do you manage to stay so centered and so organized? Because you do have so many hats and you're not, how does someone be kind to themselves? Because people think of success and they're like, okay, I need to do everything perfect and I need to do it in one day and it has to be accomplished in one day.
No,
How do you navigate around that?
so it definitely takes time. Organization when you're juggling a lot is definitely key. And I'm an organized person anyway, but I'm very intentional, setting priorities, setting deadlines. I am a sticky note queen. I write things down, and that's the one thing I like to be trusted and make sure that I'm reliable. So anything like if you tell me something right now, I know I'm not going to remember it. So I'm going right to my phone, writing it down in the notes or whatever, and just making sure that, everything doesn't need to be done in one day. So what I do teach some of my clients is like, do a brain dump, what you have going on or what you desire to do, and then prioritize it, chart your course. And from there, you'll start seeing that you knock out more things when you are organizing and writing it down and trying to do. It's this book called Eat That Frog. You heard of that book?
Oh
So
my goodness.
yes, it's called Eat That Frog. And it basically teaches you how to tackle the big rocks first,
Wow.
right? And it's like eat the big rock first or eat the big frog first. And then everything else, the little tasks will seem like not as difficult once you get the big thing. Because usually the big things are the ones that you start, but you stop because it's too complicated. It takes you out your comfort zone. It requires time. It requires your patience. You're not doing it, right? And usually that is sometimes a determining factor between you, like maybe becoming successful or not, because you don't want to put in the work.
Oh my gosh, you're dropping gems. You have inspired me. It's so true though, because even myself, I find some big projects that I'm like, I'll start and then I'm like, oh, okay, I just really need to push through to get through it, and then get sidetracked and start doing the little projects and
Yep.
then going back. And it's like, okay, so now you've inspired me. I'm gonna stick through with the big ones.
You're gonna eat that frog. Go read that book. It's a good book.
Eat the plant.
Oh, duh, yeah, of course.
Oh my goodness gracious. So who is someone that inspires you?
So right now, I would say Kamala, and I'm not political. And I say that because like there were a time where women were not even respected.
Yeah.
So it's just breathtaking, regardless of where she goes. Like even when she became vice president, regardless if she wins the presidency or not, it just feels good to know that the times are changing and that we now have an opportunity to have a voice, to even be the leaders when at times we were not even allowed to speak. We were not even allowed to even have a vote as women because they didn't value us. But to see now that someone can hold the most powerful position in the United States, that's a huge statement. So regardless of anybody's political views, that's commendable in itself.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out.
Yes.
Right? Huge inspiration. Yeah. And being a woman boss, you also are the CEO of 8Figured brand.
Yes,
How
yes,
did you
yes.
keep coming up with such creative ideas for such cute outfits?
Well, I'm a graphic designer. I went to school for graphics, have a degree in that. And I don't know, because I do design them. I see outfits or things that I want, and I'll just kind of like come up with things. And a lot of them are simple, but they're creative.
Yeah.
So, when you're an artist or something like that, it's just almost like you can't explain it. It just comes natural.
Right. Like a little vessel.
Yep, pretty much.
What's your favorite thing that you've created?
I like the plain color ones, like I don't know if you've been to the site lately, but even with the new designs that I'm gonna drop soon, it's just the plain color with the 8 figure going down the leg. Those are always my favorite. That collection, it's the most simple collection, but
It's so
it's
clean and so pretty.
yes, it's my absolute favorite out of all of them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so exciting that you have clothing attire and successful with that too.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like surreal, honestly. You
Yeah.
know?
What
Yeah.
is one tip that you would give someone as far as how to like market yourself and how to really push yourself and put yourself out there?
So it just depends on what you're doing. So every marketing is very unique as well.
Yeah.
So social media gives us an opportunity to present ourselves for like a fraction of the cost, like free, right? So depending on what you have, so just like we're here today on the podcast, this is one way to market yourself, and it's only just about letting people know who you are. It's not about what I do. It's not about my products. It's about people falling in love with the person. And I learned that. So that's the biggest marketing thing. It's like when you show people who you are and that you're just like them. So I find that when I let people into my world and show them that I'm living just like you, just because I'm on here and I'm talking about doing conferences and events, I have things that I go through as well. So even with my content, learning to just keep it 100% real, learning to let people know that, oh, you see the glitz and the glam of me being successful in my business, but let me show you these rough nights when, one eyelash is on, one eyelash is off, and I'm struggling head on the computer, but I have a deadline to meet tomorrow. I'm into it with my significant other. The house is not in order. Let me show you that part, right? You don't get to see that, right? You don't get to see that, but let me start showing you that so you can understand that just because you're dealing with things, I'm dealing with things too, but we can keep it moving.
I love that so much. Yes. And it's such a huge testament to be your authentic self and to just, be open and be vulnerable and to stay humble and kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness gracious. It has been such a pleasure. I've had so much fun talking with you. I could continue this conversation for
I know, I know.
longer.
Yes, I
Is
know.
there anything else that you wanted to tell the viewers?
No, I just want them to just be intentional. Like what I discovered is that every day I am trying to be a better person and I want people around me that's going to help me be better. One thing I learned is that we're not getting any younger. We're aunties now. I don't want anyone to wake up with regrets because time moves fast. So, whatever you think you can do it. Whatever you want and you think you can have it. Be mindful of the people that are around you because they are a direct reflection of the direction that you're going to go in. So, you have to be serious with your life. If you really want to have change in your life, do an audit, check the people around you, check yourself, and figure out how you're going to get to the next level.
Woo! I love it. That's so true. More gems, girl. You have just been dropping gems all night. It's such a huge inspiration.
Yes, thank you.
Goodness gracious. It has been such a pleasure, and we will definitely have another reunion again. But
Yes.
yeah, thank you guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It has been such a pleasure. Thank you for watching Jacqueline Valdez Live, illuminating the world one voice at a time. Thank you. Lots of love and light. Bye.